What's up guys, welcome to the channel. Thanks for tuning in today. Today we've got Matt's C8 Corvette in here at the AB's garage, if you will. And we're gonna do brakes front and rear on this car. So here we got the car. You're gonna wanna pay attention to where the lift points are on the car. There's specific points that you have to lift the cars up to avoid, you know, we're only gonna be lifting it a couple inches off the ground, but still you always wanna be safe when you're doing something like this. We're gonna start with the front and then move our way to the rear. Yeah, a little, feel like I'm famous. All right, so the first thing you're gonna do is, actually I already said the first thing you're gonna do is jack the vehicle up. So, all right, so we're gonna break the torque on the wheel with it on the ground. If you have wheel keys, this is more important to do because you don't wanna damage the key. Once you get that free, then you can go ahead and jack it up. I'm gonna use a 22mm socket for that job. Take the wheel off and put it to the side. All right. So the next thing you're gonna do is turn the wheel so you can get access to the back side of the caliper. In order to do that, if you're doing this on the ground, you're gonna need to jack up the other side, which we've already done that. Just gonna turn it as much as you can to get as much clearance back here as possible. So in order to release the caliper from the knuckle, you're gonna need a pretty deep 21mm socket and a breaker bar. There's two 21mm bolts back here. Kind of be careful of the brake hose and the fender. That's usually the cue where I bang into the fender or... Oh yeah. Makes a lot quicker work. When you're going to release that second bolt, just make sure you hold on to the caliper just in case it decides to take a spill. And there's your two 21mm bolts. Just kind of set those off to the side where they're not going to get lost. All right, so you're going to see me using these in today's video. These are from Grip Mat. I've got links to these in the description below, but they're very nice as far as just the material. It's very flexible. It's an easy way to keep things nice and organized, your parts, tools, all stuff like that. So go check those out. So now that we've got the caliper free, you're gonna go ahead and just kind of rock it off the rotor. Look at that, it also protects the caliper from the ground. I'm just gonna get the caliper in kind of this position because now we're gonna break the brake pads free. They have a little bit of adhesive from the factory to stick the brake pad to the pistons. So you're just gonna get a little pry tool and break those free. All right, so you can use like a little screwdriver, pry bar, or in this case, I've got a little chisel. And just gonna kind of stick the chisel between the caliper and the brake pad and just kind of use it as like a lever. Just break the adhesive free. So on this side, we're gonna push back towards the caliper. And you'll hear it kind of snap off. Then you're just going to break the brake pad free of the pins on the back side of the rotor. So you're going to push the brake pad towards the center of the rotor to get them free of these 2 pins on each brake pad. And as you can see here, he's had about 1 millimeter of use left, so definitely time to change those. But here's our new brake pads. You can see the thickness difference. These are Carbotech brake pads. All right, they're non-directional, so you can put these pads in either side, left or right, driver or passenger, inner and outer. It's not going to matter. But before we install those, we're going to go ahead and compress these caliper pistons, clean up the caliper a little bit since we've got it apart. The first thing we're going to do is compress the caliper pistons. You're going to need a tool like this, brake caliper compressor. I'm just going to size it up to get it sized up. You want to get it so that it can touch all 4 caliper pistons. And then just ratchet it, or however it's set up. Some of them are push and release kind of deal, but you're going to seat it on all 4 pistons and then just ratchet it until the pistons fully seat back in their resting positions. When you are doing this, you're going to want to make sure that the other side, the brake pads are installed and on the rotor. That way you don't accidentally pop a piston out. And then we're just going to go ahead and clean the brake caliper with some brake clean. Just gonna spray it on the rag. And then just give the caliper a nice wipe down. This brake dust is very abrasive and hard on painted surfaces. So yeah, while these might be brakes and everything, I mean, it's gonna happen inevitably, but you can still make them look nice and shiny for those hard park days. All right, so once you get your caliper cleaned up, pistons compressed, go ahead and before we install the brake pads, we're gonna put some of this high temp brake grease on the sides of the backing of the brake pad. So the metal portion, just gonna apply some grease. You don't need a lot, just a little bit, and then just lightly kind of brush it. All right. Just kind of do that to the other side. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. This is just going to help keep the brake pad loose in the caliper so that it can freely move back and forth. So again, these pads can go reversible, inner or outer. You're going to install it into the caliper and first get it locked into those pins on both sides. You're going to have to overcome the spring pressure of the backing spring on the back side of the caliper. Once you get them on the pins, then you can go ahead and slide them so that they're fully seated against the piston, and then just repeat for the other pad. Get installed on both pins. Apply some pressure. There you go. That's a good view, actually. Just gonna get it on that pin. Slide it up. And then since we have everything fully compressed, this is going to slide on very easily. And while holding the caliper by hand, you take one of your 21mm bolts, line it up and start it by hand. once it's started by hand, you can go ahead and take the other one. And start that by hand as well. So now a good time to make sure that you have all 4 pins installed correctly in the brake pads. The spring is correctly positioned on the back side of the brake pads. Go ahead and tighten our 21mm bolts. And then take your torque wrench and tighten them to 160 foot-pounds. Once you've got it torqued, you can go ahead and reposition the wheel. All right, so next, or the last part of the process is to go ahead and reinstall the wheel. Kind of go ahead and get it fully seated on the hub there. And then take your lug nuts and seat them. And we'll go around and torque those after we get it seated back on the ground. And then this is just our keyed lug nut, so you don't want to use an impact to torque it, but we're just going to use it to seat it. All right. Now we're going to go ahead and lower the vehicle and torque everything. So taking your 22mm socket, set your torque wrench to 140 foot-pounds. And then you just kind of always do the keyed one last. It's just kind of like a rule of thumb. So that completes the front brake job on the 2020 C8 Corvette. Before you go take it on the road, you're going to want to go ahead and pump the brake pedal to get the pads fully compressed in the caliper and contacting the rotor. And then you're going to go take it out for a drive and give the brake nice, good, medium, and hard pressure to fully bed in the brake pads. If you have any questions, just follow the brake pad bedding in procedure on the brake pads that you ordered. They should come with a set of instructions for that. But that's it. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one.